Hi Birdies, this is Crow, and today I'm going to be doing a manga review on Coyote by Zariya Ranmaru. And guys, I am so excited about this because this is easily, hands down, my favorite yaoi manga series. It was the first one that I ever picked up in a bookstore and just glanced at it and I was like, ooh, this looks good. And I'm just so excited about it that I don't even have words for how much I love this series, but I'm going to have to put it into words for this. Also, I think I'm blocking her, but there is a siren behind me. Say hello, siren. That's a Sai. Yeah. So she has decided to become a part of this today. We might get a Babbit later. The door is open, so who knows what cats will come through. Anyways, without further ado, let's jump in. Basic stuff to know. The title is Coyote, as I said, and it is by Zariya Ranmaru. And if you have watched the Liquor and Cigarettes review, you know that she is my favorite yaoi mangaka. This series was the first one I ever picked up by her, and then that's how I ended up reading Liquor and Cigarettes in the first place. And Birds of Shangri-La later when it was released in November. Moving on, the rating is M for explicit content. There is quite a bit of explicit content in this book series. This is the first manga series I've done, and I'm trying to keep up with the fact that it's not a one-shot and there's more than one volume. That being said, there are 3 volumes, which you've got 1, 2, and 3. So having said that, let me go ahead and just read the summary on the back. This is on the first volume, the summary on the back of the first volume, because they do change ever so slightly. So, in order to conceal that he's a werewolf, Coyote avoids getting too involved with humans. But Marlene, a pianist at a bar he frequents, is interested in him and just won't take no for an answer. When Coyote unexpectedly goes into heat for the first time, Marlene catches him while he's unable to maintain his human form and offers up a tempting invitation. Coyote wants to resist, but can he? Before I get much deeper into it, I want to go ahead and point out that the names are kind of wonky in this series just because up until like halfway through volume 2, they don't know each other's real names. So the main character that it's named after is Coyote, and he goes by Lily. And then his love interest, who, small spoiler, his real name is Josh, he goes by Marlene. And that's a favorite part that I will be pointing out later, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So those are the 2 main characters. Coyote is a werewolf, Josh is a human. So really quick, before I get into more of their relationship, I do want to go over the side characters. On Coyote's side, if you want to call it his pack, you have Nolan, Mimi, and there's a couple other ones. Schneider, there's an A name that I don't think I can pronounce. And then there's also Kiefer. He's like the head honcho dude, if you want to call it that. An alpha, I guess. It's never specifically stated in the story, but in normal werewolf dynamics, that's what you would think of, is the alpha of the pack. And I really do enjoy his character. He's a very good leader. He's very much about protecting the pack and doing whatever he can to make sure that happens. On Josh's side, it's a little bit more tight-knit, less pack, more family. I think it has something to do with the mafia, from what I understand, or a branch of the mafia. So you have Alan Brown, who is Josh's, maybe his best friend, I guess. He's his aide, officially, like his aide, but I would also consider them just really close friends as well. You have Josh's grandfather, who's kind of cuckoo in the head, and also very obsessed with revenge. And then there's a couple other characters that I think they're more on Josh's side. I'm not certain. Dominic, I'm not sure how I feel about him. Actually, no, I take that back. I do know how I feel about him. I really don't like him so far. But he's only really appeared once or twice, so I don't have much to go off of. And Moreno. And I'm only mentioning that because I don't know anything about this dude other than apparently he licks people's shoes, and that was a big no-no. He's seen once, but he's also mentioned once. I'm really excited to learn more about him, not because I like his character, but it's very interesting. You don't hear about people licking shoes very often. So moving on from the side characters, the relationship is it's so cute. It's kind of hunter and hunted. And again, I really try my best not to put spoilers in the manga series because I think they can go without that. This is one of those that you can't really do a very good review without going into some spoilers. So let me just get that out in the open first. Josh's family, his last name is Galland, they are werewolf hunters, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure if they're specifically supposed to be werewolf hunters, but they do hunt werewolves, or at least parts of the family do. And that's why I hate Josh's grandfather so much, because he's awful and orchestrates werewolf hunts in the name of avenging his son and daughter-in-law, who are Josh's parents. So you have very much a forbidden relationship. Now, like I said, they don't necessarily know that about each other going into it. At the beginning in the summary, when it says that Coyote goes into heat, he does. Think about a cat in heat. If you've read Omega-verse type fan fiction or things like that, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. A time when it's about a week out of the month when you just go almost rabid with needing some sexy times constantly, and Coyote can't control himself. Josh sees that and is like, you know, I like you, let me help you with this. I don't care that you're a werewolf because, you know, fangs and claws are coming out. I don't care that you're a werewolf, just let me help you. However, with that, then you get into a little bit of dubious consent, so that is one of the main warnings with this, is that can he consent if he's in heat? It's up to you. So there is a little bit of dubious consent, and then there's some violence, some gun violence, some blood. There's a war on werewolves going on, so there is a decent amount of violence, but it's not super focused on that. Now, one of the things that, and I'm jumping around a little bit here again, one of the things that I absolutely love about the relationship is, even though there are these things also going on, the dubious consent and the violence in the background, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I want them to get together. And you can see how pure their relationship, pure is maybe not the right word, how pure their love is for each other. They truly do care about each other and have each other's best interests and safety at heart. And especially Josh goes out of his way to do anything he can for Coyote. So I'm going to start out this time with my least favorite part, because there's only one of them and it's not really that big of a deal, but it's something that I noticed, and I think this is important to go into when you get into why you should support the relationship, or do you support the relationship. One of the things that I disliked, very mildly, is that there are a lot of sexy times in this series. I wouldn't say it's any more gratuitous than any other yaoi manga that there is, but I wish there was a little bit more romance when they're together. Usually when you see their more romantic side, it's usually when they're away from each other, not able to stop thinking about each other, which is cute. And you see how much they care for each other, especially Josh, with the lengths that they go. But I still wish that there was a little bit more cuddles and cutesies and things like that while they were together. That aside, so one of my favorite parts, and this I have to go a little bit more into detail about Josh for people to really understand the full extent of it. Josh is trying to leave the family. He doesn't like that they're hunting werewolves, and that's one of the main reasons that he was okay with Coyote being a werewolf, because he doesn't see any problem with it, and he's trying to break away from the family. The whole reason he was at the bar that they met at, he was supposed to be staking out to find if there were any werewolves there and report back. He was supposed to do that, and then he was free from the family for good. And that didn't really happen the way he had hoped for it to. But that's what you get, is he is leaving that side of the family. He's leaving werewolf hunting. He is giving up his name so that he can be free from that, and he ends up with a werewolf who is the sworn enemy of his, or part of his family at least, his grandfather, who raised him after his parents were murdered. So now that you kind of have that background, let me go into the song title that is in the very first chapter of this series, which is the song Lily Marlene. And that's where their names come from. They just randomly started calling each other those names instead of using their real names. I'm not sure why, but they just started calling each other that. The song is actually by a German woman named Marlene Dietrich. I think I'm saying that correctly. I have not studied German. And it was released in World War II. It was around that time period. And I was trying to figure out what is the connection between this particular song and this story, because I was like, there has to be something. And there's actually a scene where Josh goes up to a picture frame of Miss Dietrich and says, "It is such an honor to be called after you, for me to be called the same name as you." And I was like, that has to mean something. So this Marlene Dietrich apparently sided with the Allies during World War II. She turned away from Nazis and went over to the Allied side and helped. That's a very vague understanding that I got from Wikipedia, so, but it very much does reflect into this story, and I thought that was such an interesting detail, especially because you see so much foreshadowing just in the first chapter. If you look that up, it's so much foreshadowing for later. The next thing is the complexity and the depth of the story and the characters themselves, because there is so much going on, not just with the main characters, but also the side characters. You can see things from their point of view, and even though at times the story is a little confusing, it is very well done in a way that it keeps you engrossed. I waited for a year and a half for the third volume to come out, and the whole time, like, I would reread it multiple times just in that time, because it was so just, I wanted to read the next page. I wanted to read the next volume. I want to read the next chapter. It's probably not the right order for those things to be in, but whatever. So all of that complexity and depth is really amazing, especially when you get a little bit deeper into Volume 2 in particular, when you start learning about their past, Coyote's past and Josh's past, and that was really interesting as well. Those are my favorite aspects of the story. My favorite scene, and this is the only scene in particular that comes to mind. There's probably plenty that I really love, but this is the one that comes to mind. And this is a spoiler, so, skip over this part if you don't want to hear about that. Coyote eventually does show his true form to Josh, even though, I keep wanting to call Josh Marlene, even though Josh already knows he is a werewolf, he doesn't ever show his true, full wolf form, coyote form? He's smaller than a wolf, so I guess that makes him a coyote, I don't know. But he does eventually shift and show him his full transformation in anger. And golly, Josh was shocked and scared, and I was here for it. So many emotions, and I was just so happy. I was so upset and so happy at the same time, because it was amazing, and the artwork was phenomenal. Okay, I'm calm now. Maybe. I get all giggly when I think about this story. All in all, would I recommend this story? Absolutely. It's my favorite story. Please, please, please go read it. I, for some reason, thought that Volume 3 was the last volume of the series, and I'm not sure how I thought that at all, looking back as I reread the first 2 volumes again and realized just how much would be left unanswered, that there is no way you could fit that into one manga volume. So I'm probably going to be waiting until the summer of 2022 for the next volume, and I don't know if I will physically be able to wait that long, but I'm going to try my best. I think that this is a story for anyone who really enjoys Omegaverse, but not to the nth degree, where you get into more of the hierarchy and societal parts of it. This is for people who have watched Teen Wolf. If you really like the story of Scott and Allison from Teen Wolf, then you would really, really like this as well. It's, I want to say maybe a more mature, not just mature because of the rating, but the relationship itself is more mature than Scott and Allison were. So, that's a little thing. If you like Teen Wolf, you'll probably like this. If you like Omegaverse, you'll also probably really like this. If you just really like yaoi manga and want to take my word for it and read it, you'll also like this. I think anyone who read this would like this, if you like yaoi, of course. Oh, the Babbit is here. Babbit, do you want to say hi? I think the viewers were just waiting. They were just waiting. Siren didn't do it for them. Whee! There's a Babbit. Hello, Babbit. Okay. The Babbit's not happy, but she has made her presence known for the audience right at the end of the video, too. Works out well. So, let me know what you thought of this video. Have you read this story? Are you going to read this story? And definitely let me know any thoughts or comments you have about it if you have read it. As well as hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button. I should be having an extra video that's not in the post schedule coming up for a fan fiction here probably in the next week or two. So look forward to that. I'm really excited. It's a BTS fan fiction called Cotton Candy. There might be a Marvel one coming out as well. Not sure when that's going to happen, but it should be soon. And definitely tune in next week for a fan fiction review, which is a My Chemical Romance fan fiction, probably the most well-known emo band fan fiction there is. It's called The Anatomy of a Fall. I'm super excited for it. It's one of my favorites. So please tune in for that. And I will see you guys then. Bye.